All right. So as I was saying, the first part of the course will be on non-Newtonian fluid flow, and the second part of the course will be on solidification, but it will start from phase diagrams. So those of you who have already studied phase diagram, it will be very familiar to you. So binary alloy phase diagrams of different type, and then we will see how the concentration evolves. Basically, our target in this part is to see how the concentration, or say if we have an alloy means uh, a substance with two constituents, okay, like aluminum and copper or aluminum and silicon. So if that solidifies, how the concentration of aluminum and copper or aluminum and silicon varies along the length of the solidified object. So that is going to be our task. So we will try to solve some problems or derive some solutions, analytical solutions for those cases. And then we will try to see some practical aspects of that part also, like so for example, zone melting or Bridgman solidification, 1D solidification, things like that. So these are two separate topics, entirely two separate topics, not connected to each other. So you can consider them as two special topics. And those who have already done courses with me in this online mode already know my mode of this teaching. So I found that the best way to teach in this online mode is to already prepare the notes like this. Already notes are prepared, handwritten notes, and we will go through the notes together. And in case you have any questions, you are very free to ask me any questions. Okay, and the notes are shared with you. Already I have uploaded the notes. So for this part of the course, for this course actually I have already prepared the entire notes. So all the notes is there, whatever is going to be there in the course, around 70-80 pages are there. So this is already uploaded in the Teams portal. So you can go to the file section of your Teams portal. Okay, you can go to the file section of your Teams portal in transport phenomena and go to Anirban notes, and here you have the lecture notes. Any other extra materials also, if you required, I will keep on uploading here. You can download from here. Some extra materials will be required, some say appendix where all the constitutive relations are there, which you cannot memorize, but you have to refer to them. So things like that. Okay. So first part of the course will start with the non-Newtonian fluid, starting from today itself. Okay. And then after a couple of weeks, we will go into the other part of the course. And the teaching assessment for me is 10 marks. For Dr. Dutt, it is 10 marks. So it will be based on assignments this time. So I will give you a couple of assignments, 2 or 3 assignments, and you have to do the assignments and submit them to me. I will also give some assignments which you do not have to submit to me, which is just for your practice. Okay. And what else is there? So I guess lot of different students from different batches are there. I see BTech dual degree 5th year, dual degree 4th year, then MTech 1st year, then material students also. So if I need to, I don't know how to, like, if I select one of you as class representative, you have to then share all these messages. Say if for any reason I don't feel well and unable to take the class, quickly I send a message to one of you, then you have to share this with all the others. So who can be a class representative? Because there are so many students here from so many different groups. You can create a WhatsApp group or something like that and share with share this kind of news, whether the class is going to be held or not. Most probably all the classes will be held on time, but sometimes what happens, my health is fragile, so I am unable to take class sometimes due to health issues. In that case, I will tell some one of you. Let me see. Bharatram, can you be the class representative?
Hello.
Bharat, can you be class representative?
Um, Sir, can somebody else be?
Yes, we can ask somebody else. Who else is there? Nikhilesh, what about you? Or how do we do it? Means, who was the class representative for Dr. Rath's part?
So there was no class representative.
Class means say if something needs to be shared, so or some like as I was saying, so if I am late or something like that, some news has to be shared.
Sir, it can be done into the Microsoft Team itself.
And that can be done if you have to follow it properly. Means you have to check then that I can always send a message in Microsoft Teams. Okay, you have to check the messages that there is a message on Microsoft Teams from me. That is fine in that case. Okay, and about the books, so books are not required for this course. Okay, so the class notes should be sufficient. I will suggest one book at the end of the course. Okay, means not at the end of the course, at the end of the class today, and discuss with you. That is for the non-Newtonian fluid flow part. For the phase diagrams and other things, lot of materials are there taken from lot of books. There is no concrete book from those for that. I will share some notes from one of the professors from UK. The notes are very good and you can go through them to get a good understanding. You might already know those basics, but he has taken the course in a very nice way. So I found the notes to be very helpful. His name is Professor David Dye. So Professor David Dye from UK, he's very good in this area. Okay. So anyway, and later we can discuss about what will be the. So there is not going to be any class test because of this online mode and exams. You know, final exams. Some part will be from my part. Most of the part will be from my part, and some part will be from Dr. Rath's part for the finals. So we have not yet decided, maybe 60-40 or 70-30 kind of division may be there. 60% from my part, 40% from Dr. Raj, something like that, covering the new part that he has taught. And we will discuss about the questions later. The students who have taken courses with me know that there are long questions and some short questions also. Same pattern will be followed here. So we will start today with non-Newtonian fluid flow. Okay. And I hope you can see my screen. Can somebody confirm? Yes. I cannot hear you.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, good. So before starting, actually let me share a video with you. Okay, before starting the class, let me share a video with you. How do I share the sound effects and everything? Does anyone know how to share the sound and video of my computer?
Share it and share it again, and there will be an option to share the system sound.
Okay, okay, okay. No. Let me check. Okay. I know. No, it's fine. Just a general introductory video, which I found interesting. Okay.
Hello and welcome to another Science Man
Can
digital lesson.
Can you hear the? I have stopped the video, but were you able to hear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And
Yes,
see the video also, right? Yes.
Today, we're going to take on the interesting topic of Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids. A classic Newtonian fluid is water. Water has a very
What is happening? Internet is slow, is it?
predictable viscosity and will always
This is the problem here.
Always flow predictably, regardless of the forces acting on it. Newtonian fluids also have predictable viscosity changes in response to temperature.
We'll lower the quality. No, it's not possible. Let me directly show from my
Pressure change.
screen.
Hello and welcome to another Science Man digital lesson. Today we're going to take on the interesting topic of Newtonian and non-Newtonian fluids. A classic Newtonian fluid is water. Water has a very predictable viscosity and will always flow predictably regardless of the forces acting on it. Newtonian fluids also have predictable viscosity changes in response to temperature and pressure changes. To investigate the properties of Newtonian fluids experimentally, let's start with some warm honey. As you can see here, warm honey flows easily, and it will easily flow around objects, such as this ruler. Placing a force on the honey has no effect on its viscosity. Even if we place a large force on it with a hammer, the honey predictably flows around the hammer. If we try the same thing with cold honey, we see, as you would expect, the honey is more viscous. That is, it flows slower. But when we test it with the ruler, we see it behaves much like the warm honey. It's the same when using the hammer. Applying a force has no effect on the viscosity. Honey, whether it's warm or cold, is a good example of a Newtonian fluid. Let's try a different fluid. We'll perform the same test with cornstarch solution. When you pour this solution, it appears to behave much the same way as the honey. When you place a ruler into it slowly, the fluid flows around the ruler. However, when you attempt to force the ruler into the fluid instantly becomes more viscous. Hammering the fluid with even more force produces even more resistance to flow. Because a cornstarch solution's viscosity changes with an applied force, it is a non-Newtonian fluid. Unlike a Newtonian fluid, applying forces to this non-Newtonian fluid causes its particles to behave more like a solid. This makes the behavior of non-Newtonian fluids very strange. As you can see here, even though cornstarch solution flows when emptied from a bucket, you can't break its surface even when using a sledgehammer. You can even jump on and off a cornstarch solution. Just remember, don't stand on it, as you will eventually sink. So in summary, non-Newtonian fluids have unpredictable responses to applied forces. With applied forces, they become more viscous, such as cornstarch, or less viscous, like ketchup. What other fluids might you suspect to be non-Newtonian fluids? Try your own fluid experiments to find out. Thanks.
Okay. I hope you could see that. Okay, it is also shared in your in the folder that I have shared. There are a lot of other interesting videos on non-Newtonian fluid flow. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we will discuss about this in due time. Okay, what the experience that they have shown with cornstarch. So that is an example of a non-Newtonian fluid where if you apply a large amount of force, it behaves like a solid, completely like a solid. Means if you are hammering it with a hammer, the hammer will just strike it as if it is a solid object. And there are very interesting experiments, school level experiments are performed in exhibitions and other places where you will see this type of experiments. Like you throw a cricket ball at it at very high force, the ball will bounce back. But if you just drop the ball slowly, the ball will sink in the material. So the behavior completely differs depending on what is the force applied. So anyway, let us formally start this discussion by quickly describing what is a Newtonian fluid, which I guess all of you already know, just like a revision for us. Okay, so what is a Newtonian fluid? So whenever we are discussing about fluids, we are applying different models to understand fluid behavior, right? So what we are trying to understand is that if there is a certain, like, what is the flow pattern? How will the flow pattern in a fluid evolve? So if there is a certain force which is applied on the fluid, how will the fluid behave? How will the flow occur in the fluid? Okay, this type of things. So some of the fluids, okay, some of the fluids like water, as shown in the video, or honey, they behave in a similar way, and the main characteristics for them is that if you increase the rate of deformation, I will come to what is rate of deformation, but if you increase the rate of deformation, then the force also increases linearly with it. Okay, so if say I will come to it. Okay, so I will come to an example which will make it more clear. But if you say make the rate of deformation twice, then the force required for that will also become twice of that. Okay, so this type of fluids can be characterized by a parameter which is known as viscosity. As you already know, I guess all of you will know, okay, what is viscosity. Okay, and this viscosity actually tells us or gives us an idea about what is how much force is required for, say, unit deformation. Okay, so if the fluid is more viscous, it will have higher viscosity and more force will be required for its movement. Like, for example, if we compare honey and water, for moving honey and water at the same rate, you will need more force for moving the honey. If you have more shear, like same shear rate, you will need more force for moving honey because it is more viscous. Okay, so in a formal way, the definition of Newtonian fluid is that stresses during the flow are linearly proportional to the strain rate. Okay, or mathematically it is written like this: tau xy is equal to mu del u del y. Okay, what is tau xy? Tau xy is the shear stress. Shear stress for in what direction? So let us consider an example. Okay, so say there is a fixed wall like this at the bottom, and there is a top surface which is like a plate which is moving with a velocity v. Okay, the top surface is moving with a velocity v. Bottom is fixed, top surface moving with a velocity v. And in between these two plates or walls, you have some fluid, like it can be water or honey or whatever. Okay, it is contained within this. Now, because the top surface is moving with a velocity v, okay, and the bottom surface is static, there will be a velocity gradient, because at the bottom surface, due to no slip, the fluid just adjacent to the bottom surface cannot have any velocity. Okay, so it will have zero velocity. Similarly, the fluid which is just adjacent to the top surface, just below the plate, will be moving with the same velocity as the plate. Okay, if the velocity of the plate is v, so the fluid also will be moving with velocity v. Okay, so to transition from this zero velocity to v velocity, there will be a gradual change in velocity in the fluid. Okay, this is what we call as velocity gradient. Of course, you know this. Okay, so there will be a velocity gradient in the y direction. So if I consider the vertical direction as y axis and horizontal direction as x axis, along the y direction there will be a change in the u component of velocity. U means the x direction velocity will change. Okay, so there will not be any y direction velocity, only x direction velocity will be there, and it will change gradually from 0 to v. Now, because the velocity is changing, so one layer of fluid has a different velocity as compared to its adjacent layer of fluid. Okay, so because the two layers have different velocities, there is a resistance for the flow to occur, because one layer has to move faster as compared to the other layer. It needs to overcome some resistance for it to happen. Okay, so as a result, some stress is developed and you need to apply some force so that this movement is possible. Okay. So say we apply F force equal to F for so that the fluid can move with velocity V. Okay. We apply a force equal to F so that the fluid can move and the plate can move with a velocity V. This force is required because each of the layers are not moving at the same velocity. One layer of fluid has a higher velocity compared to the lower layer, and as a result, it has to overcome some resistance so that it can flow at a faster rate. Okay, as compared to the lower layer. So this stress which is developed is known as shear stress. Okay, and mathematically for this 2D flow, the shear stress can be written as tau xy. So this is the stress along the x direction, along the horizontal direction, because of change in velocity in the y direction. Okay, tau xy is the shear stress along the x direction due to change in velocity in the y direction, and can be defined as mu del u del y, where mu is known as viscosity. Okay, is a constant of proportionality known as viscosity. Del u del y, of course, is the velocity gradient along the y direction, the change in u along y. Okay, so this gives us the shear stress. So in general, for a Newtonian fluid, we can write the general shear stress tensor. Okay, I have not gone into what is the form of the tensor here, but it has 9 components, and the general stress tensor tau is proportional to the deformation rate of deformation tensor d. Okay, so again we have not gone into the what is the deformation tensor here. We will show it in the next class. But in general, if there are deformation in all directions, the stress also will be proportional to the stress in all directions will also be proportional to the deformation in all directions. Okay, where the constants of proportionality will be the viscosity mu. Okay. So coming back to our experiment of this moving plate, if the top plate is moving with velocity 5 meters per second, and if I measure the force and it is a 10 Newton, to move the plate with 10 meters per second velocity, means twice the velocity, it will require 20 Newton force, because this is linearly proportional. The force increases linearly. Okay. You can ask me what is the shear stress. So the force is actually shear stress multiplied by the area. Top means shear stress exists everywhere in the fluid. So the shear stress at the top of the fluid, means just adjacent to the plate, okay, is the stress that has to be overcome by the plate. So the stress multiplied by the area gives you the force. Okay, if you know the area of the plate, if you divide by the force, or if you know the stress and the area, you will get the force that is required. Okay. As already explained, examples of Newtonian fluid is water, honey, air. Okay, so lot of common engineering fluids like water and air are Newtonian fluids, and you must have studied, particularly mechanical students. I am not sure about material students, but you guys also must have studied somewhere about Newtonian fluid mechanics, like for example Navier-Stokes equation. So conservation of momentum, continuity equation, conservation of momentum using Newtonian fluid behavior, assuming that there is a viscosity term, and we can in general, while deriving the Navier-Stokes equation, inherently it was assumed that the stress is proportional to the deformation linearly, and so as a result, some of the terms was written in terms of viscosity. Okay, that we cannot do for a non-Newtonian fluid. For a non-Newtonian fluid, we cannot write the stress as proportional to the rate of deformation. We will see that there are various types of behavior depending on various types of fluid. Okay, we cannot categorize them as a single type of fluid. So non-Newtonian fluid is a vast area, and Newtonian fluid is just a small subset of that. Okay, small subset of that, but it is very important for engineering applications, because many of the engineering fluids like water or air behave in a Newtonian way, and it is much easier to solve the equations, governing equations for Newtonian fluid as compared to non-Newtonian fluid. Okay, but in many cases, for example, even in materials related applications, like say polymer related application, okay, or solidification, semi-solid forming, or semi-solid casting, die casting of semi-solids. So all these behave like non-Newtonian fluid. As a result, we need to study about non-Newtonian fluid flow to model various types of important engineering applications. So we will go into non-Newtonian fluid from now onward. Any questions? Any basic question on the basic part? I guess all of you knew that part. It's just a revision of what you already knew. So basic definition, we don't need to remember definitions, but basic definition of non-Newtonian fluid is it does not follow Newton's law of viscosity. What is Newton's law of viscosity? That stress is this is Newton's. So stress is linearly proportional to the rate of deformation. Okay, tau is equal to mu del u del y. So it does not follow, all non-Newtonian fluids do not follow that law. Okay. Now let us look at a few different types of non-Newtonian fluid. Okay. First we will take a quick look at them, and then we will go into more depth into the different models, mathematical models. So non-Newtonian fluids can be categorized into two broad groups. One are purely viscous fluid, okay, and second part is, what is the second part? Time dependent viscosity. Okay. So purely viscous fluid. What are purely viscous fluid? For this fluid, the viscosity is not dependent on time. Okay. It is dependent on the force applied or shear stress that is developed, but it is not dependent on time. So whenever you say you have a, let us go back to our previous experiment. Okay, this experiment. We have a velocity of 5 meter per second and force of 10 Newton. If you instantly change the force to 20 Newton, instantly the velocity will become 10 meter per second. Okay. It will not take certain amount of time. Theoretically, it will not take certain amount of time for this viscosity to, or for this change to occur. Okay. So the viscosity will always remain constant with respect to time. It is not going to vary with time. Okay. So similarly, for other types of non-Newtonian fluid also, same behavior is there. Okay. The viscosity does not change with time, but it can change with shear stress. Okay. So let us take a look at a few examples, and I will explain why this is happening. Okay. You need to know why also this type of behaviors are present. I will come to this graph in a minute. Okay. Or let me just first explain the graph. Okay. So this Newtonian fluid, okay, can be represented by a graph in terms of stress versus strain rate. Okay, strain rate is change in velocity in the in a certain direction. Okay, like change in u velocity in the y direction. Okay, so rate of strain. Strain is deformation, right? Strain is deformation. Rate of strain is rate of deformation, which is like a velocity. Okay, so change in velocity in a direction is the rate of deformation. So for example, dx dy will be strain and du dy will be strain rate. Okay. So if we consider our Newtonian fluid, the stress is always proportional to the strain rate. Okay. The shear stress that is developed is always proportional to the strain rate. So if we increase the shear stress to 2 times this, or if we increase the strain rate to 2 times, the shear stress will also increase by 2 times. So this is represented by a straight line in this plot. Okay, this middle straight line shows a Newtonian fluid behavior. So always the stress is linearly increasing with the strain rate. Now there are some types of fluid which are known as shear thinning fluid or pseudoplastics. What are their behaviors? So if you keep on increasing the strain rate, if you keep on increasing, giving more and more deformation, the stress that is developed do not increase linearly. Okay, they increase at a rate which is less than a linear rate. So if I come back to our experiment here, okay, so if the strain rate was, if the velocity was 5 meter per second and the force was 10 Newton, if I increase the velocity to 10 meter per second, instead of the force being 20 Newton, it will be somewhat less than 20 Newton. Maybe it will be 15 Newton or 18 Newton, but it will not become twice. Okay. So with increasing deformation, the force does not increase linearly. It increases at a rate which is less than the linear rate. Okay. This type of fluid is known as shear thinning fluid or pseudoplastic. I will come into more descriptions of this. Okay. what is the shear thinning fluid, what are the examples. But just first take a look at the graph. Okay, so what happens? Initially you have a certain slope, but the slope keeps on decreasing. Okay, so at higher strain rate, the slope is lower. It means that the stress is increasing at a rate which is less than a linear rate, as proportional to strain rate. Okay. The opposite type of behavior, where the stress increases at a rate higher than linear rate, is known as a shear thickening fluid. Okay, you are free to ask questions. Okay, anytime you are free to ask questions. You can stop me and ask questions. So shear thickening fluid is also known as dilatant, and the behavior is that if you keep on increasing the deformation, the force will increase at a much higher rate than compared to the linear rate. Again, if we go back to our experiment, say we are moving the plate with 5 meter per second and the force is 10 Newton. Now, if we move the plate with 10 meter per second, the force will not be 20 Newton, but will be greater than 20 Newton. It can be 25 Newton, 30 Newton, 40 Newton, whatever, but it will be greater than 20 Newton because it is not increasing linearly. It is increasing at a rate which is more than the linear rate. So, increasing the strain by twice increases the force by more than 2 times. Okay. So, this type of fluid is known as shear thickening fluid. They are becoming, so why this name, shear thinning and shear thickening? So shear thinning means that if more and more strain is occurring, more shear is given to the fluid, it is becoming thinner and thinner. If you consider it like a apparent viscosity is there, the viscosity is becoming less and less. Okay, this apparent viscosity is becoming less and less. It is becoming thinner and thinner, like warm honey. So cold honey is very heavy, but warm honey is very thin. Okay, not heavy means cold honey is very viscous, warm honey is very thin, very less viscosity. Okay, although honey is Newtonian fluid, but same thing with respect to stress you can consider. Means if the stress is high, the fluid becomes very thin. Okay, so that's why it is known as shear thinning. On the opposite side, if the stress is large and if the fluid becomes thicker and thicker, means it becomes more viscous, then we call it as shear thickening fluid. Okay, so all these 3 types of fluid, okay, are considered as general Newtonian fluid. Okay, general Newtonian fluid, will come to it later in subsequent classes, is a class of fluid where you can write the stress in terms of the strain rate with some constant of proportionality. That constant will actually not be a constant, that will be a variable depending on this strain rate. Okay, for Newtonian fluid it will be constant, for other cases it will be a variable, but still it can be represented in a similar way. Okay, similar type of equation, but with some modification. There is another type of fluid which is known as Bingham plastic. What is this type of fluid? So this type of fluid behaves like a solid at very small shear stress. Okay, if there is no shear stress, it behaves like a solid. So there will not be any flow in this fluid. Okay, so if you keep on applying stress to this fluid, up to a certain point, there won't be any flow. Then once it reaches a critical shear stress, then it will start behaving like a liquid. So beyond that point, it will behave like a liquid, and then it will start flowing like a liquid. Okay, and it can have a straight line type of behavior like a Newtonian fluid. In this case, it is known as Bingham plastic. Or it can also have a behavior where after starting from this critical stress, the line diverges towards the bottom, means it shows shear thinning kind of behavior. In that case, it is known as Bingham pseudoplastic. I have not drawn it here, but that is known as Bingham pseudoplastic. The main characteristics of this Bingham plastic is that there exists a critical shear stress below which it behaves like a solid. Okay, only after applying certain stress, it starts behaving like a liquid. Okay, consider toothpaste. So toothpaste, if you just so some types of toothpaste, if you just say invert the toothpaste tube and keep the mouth open, the toothpaste will not fall out. Okay, it will behave like a solid. Now, if you press the toothpaste tube, there exists a force and the shear stress will be developed. Now it will exceed the critical stress and it will start behaving like a fluid, very viscous fluid, and the toothpaste will come out of the tube. Okay, similar type of behavior is seen in Bingham plastic. It is also known as viscoplastic or yield stress fluid, because there is a certain yield stress below which there is no deformation. If I come back to our experiment here again, so in this type of fluid, what will happen? If you apply 10 Newton force, and if this 10 Newton force results in a shear stress below the critical shear stress, what will be the velocity? Say I apply 10 Newton force, it is below the critical shear stress. What will be the velocity of the plate?
0.
It will be 0. Plate will not move, but stress will be developed like a solid object. If you apply force on a solid object, stresses are developed, right? It is trying to deform, but the solid object does not flow. But for this, what will happen? After certain critical shear stress, it will start flowing like a fluid, and then you will see similar type of behavior. Okay. So this is Bingham plastic. So all this type of behavior, like this time independent behavior, purely viscous, all these are time independent behavior. There is no mention of time anywhere. Okay, it is all dependent on stress and strain. So if you change something like stress or strain, immediately the other thing will change. Okay. So these are known as purely viscous fluid, and it can be represented or studied by performing a simple shear experiment. Okay. So what is the experiment? The experiment is the same experiment that I was explaining here. So if you have maintain a fixed shear rate, okay. So you have a bottom plate which is fixed and top plate is moving with a constant velocity, and measure the shear stress. How will you measure the shear stress? You can measure the force, and dividing by the area we will get the stress. Okay. So by doing that, you will be able to see, and by changing the, so now you make the shear rate twice and again measure the shear stress. So by doing it again and again, and now you make the shear rate thrice, 3 times, and again measure the shear stress. Now like this you can plot for various shear rates what is the shear stress, and you will be able to obtain plots like this. Okay. So using these experiments, so we can define an apparent viscosity for non-Newtonian fluid. Okay. It is represented by eta. Okay. It is not represented by mu, it is represented by eta, because it is not exactly viscosity, as you will see later. It can vary, but this apparent viscosity is defined as ratio of the stress by the strain rate. Okay. So at any point, if you divide the stress by strain rate, you will get the apparent viscosity. So what happens to the apparent viscosity of Newtonian fluid? Does it increase or decrease with time? Stress by strain rate. Apparent viscosity is stress by strain rate. So for Newtonian fluid, is the apparent viscosity, not time, sorry. Does the apparent viscosity increase with shear strain rate, or does it decrease with strain rate? The apparent viscosity of Newtonian fluid, it does not change with strain rate, right? It remains fixed. What about shear thinning fluid? What happens to the apparent viscosity? Does it increase or decrease with strain rate?
Decrease.
It decreases. And for shear thickening, it increases. Okay. Does this apparent viscosity change with time also? It does not change, right? We have defined already that it's a purely viscous fluid, and viscosity is not dependent on time. Okay, so it does not change with time for this type of fluids. So we can define this as tau xy is equal to, or eta is equal to tau xy by gamma dot, where gamma dot is the deformation. We will come to all these technical terms in 1 or 2 classes. What are these in terms of velocities? All this can be described in terms of velocity gradients. Okay. For Newtonian fluid, apparent viscosity is independent of strain rate. Okay. Types of purely viscous fluid we have already discussed. Let us go into more depth, slightly more depth now, and later on we will go into even more depth where we will try to solve some problems. Okay. So one is Newtonian fluid. I think there is no need of discussing any further. Newtonian fluid. Second is shear thinning fluid or pseudoplastic. As I have already discussed, apparent viscosity decreases with increasing shear rate. Okay. So the graph looks like this. So if you keep on increasing the shear rate, the stress does not increase linearly. Okay. What are some examples? Paint is an example. Blood Okay, human blood or any blood is an example of non-Newtonian fluid. You will always hear blood is a non-Newtonian fluid, but what type of fluid? It is a shear thinning fluid. Cream, nail polish, ketchup, liquid polymers, all these are examples of shear thinning fluid. Okay. Why these behave like this? Let us. So all these type of fluids at the molecular level, they have certain type of bonding or some type of structures. For example, let us consider polymers. Okay, liquid polymers. So liquid polymers have chains which are entangled, means they are tangled together in the so these polymer chains are like long chain molecules. Okay, they are tangled together in the liquid state. When there are no forces applied, they are tangled together. When you keep on increasing the force, gradually they become untangled and they get aligned with the direction of the force. So these molecules or these chains become parallel to the direction of the flow. So it becomes much easier to move the fluid at higher stresses. Okay, because now they are aligned and there is no entanglement. It is much easier to move them. Okay, so because of this change at the molecular level or at the small scale level, at our large scale level, at the engineering level, we'll see that the apparent stress or the stress does not increase linearly with the strain rate. Okay, because of this change which is occurring at the molecular level. Similarly, many things, like blood flow also same thing. Okay, blood is actually, we are considering it as a liquid, but if you go to the molecular level, not molecular even, means at the microscopic level, blood consists of different particles, RBC, WBC. Okay, all these different cells are there. Okay, so if the force does not increase linearly with the rate of deformation in those cases. Many of these are of this same nature. Okay, that is the reason. One classic example which is designed in this way, where means actually in this non-Newtonian property is used, is wall paint. Okay, wall paint means the paint that is used for painting your house walls. Okay, the paints are designed in this way to behave as a shear thinning fluid. What is the reason for this? So when you are painting your wall using a brush or a roller, you want your paint to flow very easily. Okay, you are applying some stress and the paint should be properly applied as a thin layer over the wall. Okay, so when you are applying some stress, the paint should flow very freely. But when you are removing the stress, the paint should not flow easily. Okay, so if I remove the stress and if the paint can flow easily, it will just gradually come downwards from the wall and will create droplet like phenomena, like as if, like if you spray some water on a wall, the water will gradually fall down from the wall. Okay, and the paint will become non-uniform and it will look very bad. So when you remove the stress, the paint should behave as if it is becoming like the apparent strain rate, apparent viscosity is increasing. Okay, so that it does not flow easily anymore. But again, if you use a roller or a paintbrush, again it can be applied very easily because the movement is the apparent viscosity decreases. Okay, so paint is designed in that way. Similarly, for liquid polymers also, this liquid polymers are not designed in this way, but this property is taken into account for molding them. So if you use large stress, okay, like injection molding, okay, you are applying large stress on them, so they flow like a liquid, and if you have a mold, it can be filled very easily. Even the corners and very thin parts of the mold can be filled very easily under large stress. Okay, like for example, what can be an example of it is similar to pressure die casting, high pressure die casting. Okay, for metals. So you apply a large force, the fluid flows very easily to all the corners. Okay, but at low pressure, it will not flow into all the corners properly, and there will be gaps that will be remaining. Okay, so these are the type of examples of shear thinning fluid. Any questions? Is it understood what I am trying to discuss? Are you understanding clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now the second type of fluid is not. So today's class is 1 hour, right? And Friday class is 2 hours. Is it like this?
Yes, sir.
Today 1 hour, right? So
Yes,
tomorrow there is no class because tomorrow is holiday. Next week again there will be class. Okay. Anyway, let us continue for 2-3 more minutes and then we will stop the class. So the second type is known as shear thickening fluid. Okay, the behavior is opposite. If you increase the stress or if you increase the strain, the stress increases at a much faster rate. So apparent viscosity, which is the slope of this line, apparent viscosity increases with increasing shear rate. Okay. Examples, so shear thickening fluids or dilatants are more rare as compared to shear thinning fluids. Many fluids are shear thinning fluids in real life. Less number of fluids are shear thickening fluids. Okay. Some examples are colloids or suspensions, like the video that I have shown you today. The cornstarch in water. Okay. So the cornstarch were behaving. So if you remember that experiment, the person was putting the ruler very slowly, it was getting dipped very easily. Okay. But if he is hammering it at a very high force, it behaves like a solid because the apparent viscosity increases drastically as if like a solid. Okay. Similarly, when he is standing on this cornstarch solution, his feet will get dipped in the solution. Gradually, you will just get immersed in that liquid. But if you jump on the liquid, it will be as if you are jumping on a solid. Your feet will not get wet. You can jump out, in and out of this as if you are jumping on a liquid, solid. If you throw a cricket ball at it at very high velocity, it will just bounce back. Okay, and there are a lot of experiments which can be performed easily like this. But if you just put the ball there, it will sink in the liquid. Okay, so these colloids and suspensions, what happens is that the main stress is carried by these are at the small level, microscopic levels. This consists of particles which are suspended in the liquid. Okay, suspensions are materials where slightly larger particles are suspended in the liquid. Colloids are at a very small level. There is mixing between two types of materials. Like milk is you have fatty oils and fatty acids, other things mixed in water. So milk looks like a single liquid, but actually is a mixture. Okay, so colloids and suspensions have particles. So colloids have solid particles. Colloids and suspensions have solid particles mixed in a liquid. Okay, so when you apply large stresses, what happens is that these particles come together. Okay, and because they come together, they create lot of resistance for flow to occur. When you apply small stresses, they are further away and they can move easily over one another. Okay, they do not interact directly with one another, but when you apply large force, large deformation needs to happen. So if you are hammering the fluid with a hammer, so all these particles have to come together at a very rapid rate. Then it starts behaving like a solid because all the particles come together at a very high rate and it creates huge amount of resistance. So wherever this type of fluids are present, where you have a suspension kind of fluid, this behaves like a dilatant or shear thickening fluid. Okay, so we'll stop here, and in the next class we will also discuss quickly what is time dependent viscosity, and then we will go into the actual, again we will come back to the shear thinning, shear thickening fluid and start with the mathematical part for this. Okay.
Sir, I had one question.
Yes, please ask.
Sir, when we say that when we are increasing the strain rate, then the stress increases, then does that mean that like strain rate is the cause and stress is the effect?
No,
Or
no,
is
no,
it
no,
other way around?
no. You cannot increase the strain rate without giving the stress. So you have to apply a force. So ultimately, you are giving the force, and then only the strain is happening. So, but why we are saying in that way? Because it is easier to explain the apparent viscosity in those terms. So what happens is that if you are applying a force for a non-Newtonian, say shear thinning fluid, you are applying 10 Newton force. Okay, and if you go back to our notes, okay, come back to this experiment. Cause is the force itself. Okay, you are giving
yes,
10 Newton force, and it is moving with 5 meter per second. If I give 20 Newton force for the shear thinning fluid, it will move at a faster rate. It will not move at 10 meter per second. It will move at a rate which is more than 10 meter per second because the apparent viscosity has decreased. Is it clear?
So why do we say it in the other way around, sir?
No, it is
Like,
just I was explaining the graph because it is easier to, because the x side was strain rate. So just to explain the graph in terms of the graph, we are saying it like this. It is not, it does not have anything to, whatever way you express, ultimately it is about the slope of the line. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Obviously, without force, there will not be any deformation. So you have to have some force for the deformation to occur, right? Deformation rate. Deformation can be there without force in a fluid. That is the distinction between fluid. We will discuss it in the next class. So in solid, for any deformation, you need a force. In liquid, for any deformation, you do not need a force. Liquid will deform without a force. But liquid, the deformation rate or the rate of deformation cannot change without a force. Okay. So those two things are different. I will discuss in more details in the next class what it means. Like what is the key distinction between liquid and solid. Okay, it's a good point. I missed it today.
Thank you, sir.
Please
Sir,
don't leave. I have to take, yes.
why the particles gather as we apply stress in this shear thickening of fluids?
No, it's just that say you are hammering something or you are putting large force. Okay. So what happens is that the liquid part will try to get displaced, right? So you have a suspension, very fine particles are mixed. Very fine particles are mixed in the liquid. So the liquid part will try to get displaced, like move out from under the, so you are putting a large force hammer and the liquid below it tries to move out and all the solids are still there which are not easily moving out. Okay, so they act like a solid block. So what happens is that the hammer, when it forces down, it behaves as if it is hitting a solid and just bounces back, or the ball just bounces back. It happens very quickly. Okay, so it is as if like it is not coming together in the sense that they are attracting each other. It is as if the liquid part is quickly moving out and we are left with solids are interacting together. Like say you have certain particles spaced evenly in the fluid. When you are quickly moving them, the particles will also try to move with respect to each other and they come quickly together, hit each other and creates a lot of resistance. That is what is happening. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I will stop the recording. Don't leave. I have something to explain. Okay. Although the class is